Neck Nation, I'm Kit James.
Austin Davis.
NECKROOTS podcast. Today we're talking about defining your worth.
Define your worth. Know your value.
Yeah,
right?
man.
Gosh, this is a big topic, and we could probably talk on this one for a really long time.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, society has so much to say and so much to tell us about what they think we're worth, or what they think you should think you're worth. And for the most part, it's wrong.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is wrong.
It is.
You know, and we'll get into some of the specifics of what society is saying defines your worth. But what we really want to get to today, Neck Nation, is how are you going to define your worth?
Right. And I think this is such an important topic. It's something I've just pounded into my kids, man. You got to know who you are. That's where this podcast came from. And,
oh, yeah.
And that's knowing your roots.
Yep.
And not knowing who you are, being comfortable. And if you don't like you, change you, right?
Yeah.
And we want to change every day and be better every day. But I think defining our worth, where do we get our worth from? And I think a lot of times the acceptance of peers and friends and people around us and those that we might value most. And what's interesting is my son, he's 21 years old now, and before he went on a mission, he said, "Hey, I'm going to have a big party when I open my call and see where I'm going." And I'm like, "Son, you can do whatever you want, right? Because everyone's different."
Yeah.
And it's cool to have a party, and you know, my youngest son, he's like, "No, dude, I ain't telling nobody. This is personal and this is mine," right? And he's kind of an old soul, you know.
Oh, he is. Absolutely, he is.
Yeah, you see the difference between them. You know, when they turn 16, one wants a newer truck, and the other one's like, "I want the old square,
one, dude."
an old square body that needs work." Right.
Yeah.
So he's kind of an old soul, but it's interesting to sit back and see the difference because what I find interesting is after his 2 years, after his service, he comes home and I said, "Where are those people now?" Right, that he invited over, and he's like, "Good point." Right? It's just something good to point out.
Yeah.
I think good friends are like family, you know?
Yeah.
They're family that you can choose.
Yeah.
And having good friends is important. But how do you define your worth? Is it those around you that patting you on the back or whatever? Or is it when you look in the mirror and you know that in your core that you're doing the best that you can and you're trying hard every day and you're doing your best and forgetting the rest, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you bring up something really important, Kit, and it resonates with me. And that is, you know, I have had, it's been hard for me to find my worth, right? I've always had, just full disclosure, Neck Nation, and I'm sure a ton of you can relate to this, but, you know, self-esteem issues, always talking down to myself, negative about myself, right? Thinking I'm just not worth anything, right? And I look to those outside resources, or I have in the past looked to those outside resources for validation, right?
Yeah.
Somebody else to tell me that I'm worth something because I can't tell myself that. And I got to tell you, Kit, and everybody that's listening, right? It's so unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
I think we know that. It goes without saying that it's unhealthy, but you know, it destroys everything else. It destroys your confidence. It destroys your ability to be successful. It holds you back, right? When you think that way. Speaking from experience, right? And I'm better at it now, but I'm not great at it. It might even be questionable as whether or not I'm good at it, but I can tell you that I'm better at it than I have been.
That's all that matters.
That's what matters, man. One step at a time.
I think in life we're our own biggest worst enemy. It's us against us.
Oh, for sure.
And that's the truth. When you're wrestling, when you're competing, when you're racing, when you're doing anything, it's not you against everybody else, bro. It's you against you. And and that's the truth.
Yeah.
Do you believe that you deserve to win? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
In life, it's the exact same way. And a lot of times you find that the only person in your corner is you. And that's not true a lot of the time. But if you can just focus on you and not defeating yourself before the whistle blows or before the bell rings or whatever it is in life, then you're getting somewhere. Because even, I don't care how, the most confident person in the world has his days. Every dog has its day, right? And I think that $20 example that we used is so powerful and so important. And we did it on one of the first few podcasts. And I pulled out, I said, "Hey, you got $20? And so I said, "What's that worth?" You remember that?
Yeah.
And you said, "It's worth $20.
$20.
Yeah. And I said, "Okay." What if it got soiled? What if it got beaten up? What if it got wrinkled up, right?
What if it got torn in half?
Yep. Then what if it got torn in half? What's it worth now? And every time you didn't even hesitate, you're like $20, dude. I can still tape that together. And I can go to the grocery store and I can get $20 worth of groceries.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's interesting and so powerful in this comparison to this $20 is that's just a monetary piece of paper that we put value in. And there's no question what the value of that is, no matter if it's beaten up, trodden, soiled, wrinkled, torn in half, and left alone for some time. It's no question it's still worth $20.
Yeah.
But when we get beaten up and kicked down and wrinkled up and torn in half, right, or feel like it, we are very quick to devalue ourselves.
Yeah, we are.
It's
Absolutely.
sad.
Yeah.
It's sad, but that piece of paper, we're like, nope, $20.
$20.
We got to see our value through the eyes of our Creator. We got to see our values through our own eyes. You know what I mean?
It's the most important person in this equation is you, right? You said it's you versus you, and having other people validate and give you a pat on the back and tell you you're doing a great job and tell you, you're worth it, people love you, whatever. That's great. It's good. It's good to hear those things, and I'm sure nobody hates to hear those things. Maybe some people are like, hey, a little, you blush or whatever. I don't know, but the most important voice that needs to tell us what we're worth and needs to be positive is our own voice. You got to be able to look in the mirror and say, dude or lady, whatever, right? You're worth it, man, and this is why.
And knowing that now that we're older, it's the burden of responsibilities on us as parents to really instill that in our younger ones, right?
Oh, yeah, because society's not going to do it.
No, get that foundational belief that, you know what, you can do whatever you put your mind to, right?
Yeah.
You're worth it.
Yep.
You can do anything.
Yeah.
Right? You want to do that? Okay, great. You can.
Yep.
Right?
And speaking of that, like having to teach our kids where to get their worth from and how to define their value, right? Let's talk a little bit about what society says, because I think in the back of our minds we all know these, but we need to talk about them. We need to say them out loud. The world will tell you your worth by what it says on your paycheck, right? Yeah. And you cannot define what you're worth by what it says on your paycheck, because Neck Nation, we are all so much more than a paycheck.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that was something that I used to tie myself to all the time, is like, well, how much money am I making? Well, that's, I'm only worth what they're willing to pay me, is what I would tell myself. And that's not true. In fact, I don't know. Have you seen that new documentary that came out? I think it's on Netflix about, it was a new movie that came out about Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Right. And his startup, and his mom has this phone call with the rep from Nike.
Yeah.
Right. And she says, you know what, we're going to go ahead and take that deal, the $250,000 salary. But there's one thing you left out of the contract. And that is he's getting a royalty on every single one of those pairs of shoes that sells with his name on it. And they're like, well, that's not how we do business. That doesn't happen.
It's never been done before.
It's never been done before. That's just not the way that it goes. And she says, well, in an effect, she says, well, I know what he's worth. You know what he's worth. He knows what he's worth. You're going to put it in the contract.
Yep.
Because it's the right thing to do.
Yep.
Right? And we have to have that kind of confidence.
Yeah.
Know what you're worth, regardless of what somebody says they're going to pay you, or what a dollar sign says, or what society says about, how much money you have. Your worth.
That's so awesome. I remember watching that video or that movie. I went to the movies and watched that, and I shook my head during that movie. I'm like, man, she's got hair on her peaches. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because she stuck to it.
Yeah, what if he broke his leg the first? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what they say.
Even though he had a good excuse or whatever, right?
Yeah.
He couldn't show his worth, right?
Yeah.
And take his position on the roster and on the floor. But man, it takes a set. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So we just know what we're worth. The other thing that society will tell us, our worth is what kind of car you drive, how big is your house, right? Yeah. The things, your possessions define your worth. Again, that's not it. No. That is not it.
No. We come into this world with nothing. I think it's real important that we leave this world with nothing too.
Yeah, as far as possession goes.
Yeah, there's no U-Haul behind the hearse.
Not at all.
And
nope.
The clothes you wear are the clothes they pick, and they're
they're probably not the clothes you would pick.
Yeah.
Right?
Now I am going to be buried in my car. I mean, that's
I'm
going with me in the ground at least.
going to be buried face down so the world can kiss it. You know what I mean? So I think when you say the world, we get they want to value us based on the car you drive, the house you know. I think we have to take some responsibility for that too, and say that is what the world is doing, but we kind of adopt it too.
We do,
right?
Yeah,
we adopt whatever that society, whatever the movement is in society that says, hey, here's a ticker, or here's a plateau, or here's a benchmark, right? And sometimes we adopt that and we take that on as our own benchmark, and then it becomes something that we do.
Yeah.
And what's interesting though is when people are patting us on the back, or we achieve that plateau, and it's materialistic or it's those kind of things, it's almost like winning a match. You're only as good as your last win, and the longevity of that feeling of greatness is temporary. And we're looking for finding and defining our value and make sure there's longevity there, right?
Absolutely.
And that it stays and it sticks and we keep compounding and becoming better every day and happier every day, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think that's the work we do within our own four walls and within the our 2 ears in our minds. So
yep.
We're worth it. There's a story, a buddy of mine, he has a daughter, and his daughter did really, really good in college, and she was wicked smart, right? And so he says she graduated with honors, on the honor roll, everything. And he said, if you do that, I'm going to give you something that's priceless. And she's like, priceless? What's that? I mean, that's great.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
awesome,
She's like,
man.
Dad,
I'm motivated. I'll do whatever.
And she goes, Dad, I just want a new car, like a new one. And he's like, I'm going to give you something better than that.
Yeah.
So anyways, long story short, she graduates, and then they'd kind of not talked about this promise. Yeah. And so she goes, Dad, are we going down to the Porsche dealer or anything anytime soon? You said
the Porsche dealer.
Whatever, right?
She's got big on the mind right there.
Yeah. And she's like, is there anything that you're gonna give me? He goes, yeah, I'm gonna give you a less price. So she's like, follow me. Takes her out to the barn, rips the cover off of this old Jeep. And this Jeep, bro, is a Willys. It was old.
Nice.
Right, really old.
Yeah.
And it was tattered and it was beat up and it was had a straight six in it. She's like, does it drive? He goes, well, we can get her running, yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he goes, give me a week. And so he gets it running and she goes, that's it? That's the priceless vehicle? He goes, oh no, the lesson you're going to get is priceless, honey. And he goes, I want you to follow me. He's like, do you trust me? She goes, yeah, Dad, I do. And he goes, okay. And he goes, what do you see when you look at that? She goes, an old beat up Army Jeep that's half pink and half gray and needs a lot of work and money I don't have.
Yeah.
He goes, well, I'll let you sell it, and then you can go get whatever you want. But I want you to do it my way. And she goes, okay, what's your way? And so he says, I want you to go down to the dealer, the auto dealer that says we buy cars, and I want you to have them give it a value and make you an offer. I don't want you to take the offer, though. I just want you to do it. And she goes, okay. So she goes down there in this ratty thing, and he's like $1,000.
Yeah.
He goes, all right, here's another guy that's advertising. He pays cash for cars, and he was kind of a pawn shop guy, and so she goes down there, and she goes, he said it was because of the age and how old it is and beat up, like what I said when I first saw it, that he would give me $100. And he's like, all right, now I want you to take it here to this Jeep club, this Jeep Safari Club, and you go hang out with them for a day. They're having a big rally and and showing off their Jeeps and blah blah blah. And she goes, I can't go enter this. And it was $25 to enter. And she goes, the last dude offered me $100.
Yeah.
Right. This is a quarter of the entry fee to go hang out with these kooks. Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to hang out with them. He goes, do it. And he goes, and I want you to put for sale and make offer on it. And so she goes down, hangs out, has tea with them, walks around, looks at all the other Jeeps, whatever. And she comes back and she goes, this dude offered me $100,000 because of the rare nature of this Jeep. And he goes, oh, and I wrote this down. And so the father said to his daughter, the right place values you the right way. If you're not valued, do not be angry. It means you are in the wrong place. Those who know your value are those who appreciate you. Never stay in a place where no one sees your value. And that, I think that was powerful. It was powerful. And basically it was a great lesson for her. She ended up she sold the Jeep, right?
Oh, sure.
I think he was hoping she wouldn't.
Yeah.
But that lesson always stuck with her. And I think it's a good reminder for us too that where are we getting our value? It said, he was trying to make the point to her, hey, look, I know what your value is, right? You're a smart girl, you're a pretty girl, you're all these things. And what a good job for a father to be instilling that in her. And he said, if they don't see your value, that means you're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
You got to stick and move.
Yep.
Right? And so if people don't see our value the same way that we do or that we want them to, we're probably in the wrong place. It's next face, next race, right? We got to move on.
It is. Yep. We do got to move on.
And it's interesting because the uniqueness of that Jeep it represents us. I mean, we are unique. And we all chase unique, and we put a price tag on unique when they're material things. But when they're us and we're unique, I mean,
we pass it over, man.
Yeah, we gloss over like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what's important there is when you say you need to put yourself in a different place if those people aren't valuing you, and we've talked about valuing yourself, right? This is the time to do the self-evaluation. And it's not going to take very long to do this evaluation, Kit and Neck Nation. It's you just look at how much value have you placed in yourself.
Yeah.
And if it's not adequate, which in a lot of cases maybe it's not, you need to make a change, right? You need to move so that you can see what you're really worth.
Yep. And motion equals emotion, man.
Yeah.
It helps.
Yeah. And so moving away from these social the things that society tells us brings you value as an individual, I think it's important. And really what we wanted to talk about today is what should we use to define our value? And I think the first thing that comes to my mind, right, is your character.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
How you conduct yourself as an individual, right? Your integrity, right? Your drive, your passion, that type of stuff. Like your character and how you treat other people and how you treat yourself, you can drive value from that. And that is, like you pointed out, that's lasting.
Yeah, that lasts. It sticks.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can really, it's foundational. Your soul knows, man. Like you can buffalo anybody, bro. I buffaloed my way through high school, right? Because I was putting a quarter in the thing and ringing the school.
Yeah.
Like the payphone.
Yeah.
Back when I'd call and check Kit James. Hey,
he's not coming to school today.
Yeah, no. Or his grandfather just passed away, and they're like, dude, how many grandfathers does this Kit guy got?
Yeah, dude, you Ferris Bueller the heck out of that school.
Yeah, bro. And I'd go to work. But my point is, you can buffalo your way through whatever, right? And at the end of the day, dude, when you're looking in the mirror, brushing your teeth, about ready to lay your head on the pillow, that's one guy you can't pull the wool over his eyes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That rooster knows, the one looking back at you. So I think it's really important to do that reflection, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's okay. There's certain things, even the most powerful or the greatness in everybody sometimes gets overlooked, and it's okay if there's areas that we need work on. Right?
Absolutely it is.
It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah. And like you said, every dog has its day. All of us, everybody, right? You are not alone if you're having trouble defining your self-worth.
Yeah.
You're not.
No, absolutely not. It's all about perspective, I think, really.
Yeah.
We have to update our expectations as much as we update our Google boxes and our phones, and we don't miss, man. When they say update, you update.
Yeah.
But when we need to update our expectations and who we're becoming and who we need to become and who we know we can become, we need to update us.
Yeah.
We do.
Yep.
And so speaking about perspective, there's kind of a funny joke. And this guy goes, man, I got this buddy, and he's always he's a Debbie Downer. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, I mean, the dude gets love 2 or 3 times a day. He reads 2 books a day, right? And he has all this time. And I mean, who wouldn't want to get a little loving 2 or 3 times a day?
There you go, man.
Have time to exercise, read books, and you think about it, and he's always complaining. I go, why is he complaining? He goes, because, dude, he doesn't like the food in prison.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, perspective is a real thing, right?
It is. Yeah.
So we have to really update our expectations and our perspective. Why do we view things the way we view them? You know, this guy's looking at it like, hey, he's getting hooked up with love. He's got time to read a book. He's exercising. What's he got to complain about?
And then you step back and you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
I get it. He's in prison. So
yeah, it's super relatable, right? I mean, we go through those things ourselves, right?
Yeah.
We have to have perspective. You know, one of the big things here too, aside from character, is I think gratitude is also tied to this.
Yeah.
And we've talked about gratitude before, but if you're lacking gratitude for the things that you have, like not your material possessions, but for the qualities that you have. If you're not grateful for who you are, you're not going to be able to define your worth, man. You're going to struggle.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think just having gratitude and for those things and being grateful and thankful for those things around us and where we're at today, even if it's, I mean, you can have the worst day ever, and if you take a minute and go, hey, I'm going to update my expectations by doing a gratitude journal today. The small things are the big things, man. You're going to be grateful for those things, and all of a sudden you're going to be empowering yourself to look for the greatness in the next day.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Because all that neglect and talking bad to yourself or worry or all those things is all they do is rob the power from today, you know?
Yeah.
And tomorrow. And so we need to live in the now, and we need to be positive, even when everything's turned against us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I heard 2 negatives equal a positive. I don't know. I missed that day. Is that true?
You know what? It is true, but then it causes the question as to why why 2 positives don't equal a negative. So now I just don't understand math. Well, I don't get it anymore.
Forget about it, dude. If you got 2 positives in a row, you're on a roll.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, is it story time?
Yeah. So I've got a story I'll paraphrase and read from, and this, I think this will put it in perspective for us. I really like the way this is done, and it's called One Solitary Life. Okay. And so it talks about a man that was born in a small village, and he was born to a peasant woman, right? So single parent. He grew up in another village. It bordered this village, and he worked as a carpenter in a carpenter shop until he was about 30. And then for 3 years, he was kind of an intern and a preacher, right?
Yeah.
And preached for 3 years. But what's interesting about this man is he never owned a home. He never wrote a book, never held an office, never had a family, never went to college, never put his foot inside of a big city, never traveled more than 200 miles from the place where he was born. And he never did any of the things that usually accompany greatness in our eyes.
Sure.
Right? So, and while he was still a young man, and this is where it gets interesting, the tide of popular opinion turned against him. His friends kind of went away and ran away from him, and one of his really close friends actually turned him over to his enemies, and one of his other close friends just denied that he even knew him.
Yeah.
Right? And this man went through a mockery and a trial. He was nailed to a cross between 2 thieves. And while he was dying, his executioners gambled for the only piece of property that he had on earth, and it was his coat. And when he was dead, he was laid in a borrowed grave through the pity of a friend. And this is powerful because 19 long centuries have come and gone, and today he is a centerpiece of the human race, leader of the column of progress, and we're far within our mark when I say that all the armies that have ever marched, all the navies that were ever built, all the parliaments that have ever sat, and all the kings that have ever reigned, all put together, have not affected the life of a man upon this earth as powerfully as has this one solitary life.
Yeah, that is powerful, man.
One solitary life matters. Our life matters. Our Savior Jesus Christ's life mattered. And you know what? All the things that we see as important, really, when you really get down to the roots of it and focus in on what's important, it's not that important, right? The things that we think are important.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the perfect example, right? Don't tie yourself to the things that other people or society would tell you brings you value, because you can contribute to this world you are contributing to this world, whether you think you are or not.
Yep, absolutely. And when you think no one's looking, they are, man.
They are.
So that's where your character that you brought up comes in, and it's important.
Absolutely.
So,
well, that's the message that we have for you, Neck Nation. So thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys listening. Be sure to like and share this video. And if you're listening on one of the other podcast mediums, like and share that as well, so we can reach more people.
Yeah.
Check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram. I think we got a few things on TikTok. We're posting some videos. Oh, dude, we posted a video of Duke.
oh yeah, Duke's alive and well, man.
Duke is alive and well. He is back, man. He is looking good.
He's thundering.
He's thundering.
Listen for the thunder.
Exactly. So make sure you go check that little video clip out on YouTube. But we'll leave you with that message, and bless up, Neck Nation.
Bless up. Thanks for joining us.